Hi, hello guys, welcome to Vimwelo's channel and welcome to today's video. Today we were just inside the shopping mall here in Portsmouth High Street and we needed to check for something and we just did, and we've been asked to come back tomorrow. So at the moment I'll just come out of the mall, as you can see, and we will hit the road to go to somewhere different. Let's see what we got outside. It's a nice day. It's sunny. It's beautiful. Escape. Yeah, the sun is out and it's beautiful. So I'll let you know where we're landing soon. So let's do this together. I've come out from out through the back door. That's why it kind of looks like a hiding corridor, because the place I was going is literally just at the entrance of where I am now. Nearly fall over there. So here we are, guys. As you can see, it's always fun outside. When it's sunny, people like to sit outside the bars and enjoy their cold drink.
All the time.
Mate, I'm in a funny mood.
Yeah, well, that's right.
So these are the main bus stops of the high street.
Cheers. Oh, no camera. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad, we're going on.
We want bus 23 to South Sea. It's the other side, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I'll take you over there.
Oh, you are still doing your charity work.
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take you over there.
But I want 23 to seafront.
Seafront.
Yeah.
You've got two options. You can get the H1, that's my hover bus, down to Clarence. You go down South Lake here, babes. Yeah. Right, what we do, we cross over.
That's my volunteer. You do volunteer a lot to show people where to take their buses, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I've seen you doing this before.
Yeah. I'm still single, guys.
That one facing on the other side, does it mean it's going to South Sea?
Yeah.
All right, so I might be able to get on that one.
Yeah, he might go any minute now, Carlos, because he's a pain in the neck.
Okay, if we are quick, we might.
Yeah, be helpful.
Yeah. It's a congestion of buses here.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I've got time. People are still going inside. Oh. So guys, we are here in the historical dockyard. As I said before, there are so many things you can come and visit every time. Today we're going to HMS Victory, as you can see. As usual, I like to read a little bit and see if I can get any information. The new on-board route allows visitors to experience HMS Victory as she would have appeared at the time of the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. The visitor route, those numbers from number 1 up to 6, and all visitors exit from the hold of the lowest deck into the dry dock, traveling back in time. Poor quarterdeck HMS Victory at Portsmouth, 14 September 1805. Upper gun deck joining the fleet, 29 September 1805. Middle gun deck, the eve of battle, 20 October 1805. Lower gun deck, let battle commence, 21 October 1805 morning. Orlop in the thick of it, 21st October 1805 afternoon. The hold, the aftermath, 22nd October, 4th December 1805. So guys, this is the entrance. There are steps, and let's walk upstairs slowly. I think they said there is some work going on into this HMS Victory. It's a ship. But they said all things are still, available for people to see. So you can see this is a lot of work. So let's dive in. Look at that. It looks like you're going, mind your head. Of course, it's too short. You have to bend. God is dark. You can't go that way. Those kind of the lights we have, and it's a very huge place. Ooh. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Are you able to tell me about this or show me how to go?
Show you around?
Yeah.
There's tours you can I'm here for security, naval presence.
Who?
I'm naval presence on here, so military presence. So there are upstairs.
There's no entry.
Yeah. There'll be people who can tell you about it. That's a job.
So what do? You look like a pilot.
A pilot. I'm Navy, Royal Navy.
You are the Royal Navy.
Yeah. So I'm here for security and fire.
Oh, okay. You are for real. You are working, not volunteering.
Yeah, no, I'm working. Yeah.
All right.
But there are people who do work here who specialise in all that stuff. So if you go around, follow the arrows. Round again.
Go upstairs.
Yep, up to the quarterdeck. There'll be some people who can tell you all about the ship.
Okay.
In greater detail than I can.
All right.
But I can tell you about that sword there.
Sorry?
There's a very fancy sword there, and I can tell you about that.
Okay. Oh, something to tell me about it.
Yeah. So there's a sword there. That's the first Sea Lord sword. So he's top dog in the Navy, and this is his flagship. So it's the most important ship in the fleet. And he comes and collects that sword every time he has to do a parade. So this is basically why there's naval presence on here to protect that sword.
All right. Yeah. Oh. Are we allowed to come there to see?
No, see it's all roped off there.
Okay.
So if you follow it around, there's some place who can tell you if they're on the ship.
All right. Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. So the stairs are quite firm, nice wooden stairs. Oh, we still have to go up. Ow. Light at the end of the tunnel. Wow.
Yep.
Hello.
Hiya.
Are you one of the people to show us around?
Well, we have to stay in the same area, but if you've got any questions, you can come and ask me. I'm happy to help out with that.
All right. Where does the journey begin? Here.
Oh, the journey mainly begins here. You're up on the quarterdeck, which is the main command area of the ship. So when the ship was in a battle or just sailing, you have the captain or the officer of the watch. They'll be here giving the orders. So whenever there was an order for, either to bear to port, it would always come from here. So this is where the captain would have been during battle. The admiral would have been here. Just there on the floor, you can see the very spot where Admiral Nelson himself was shot at the Battle of Trafalgar. He'd been pacing up and down the deck, and just as he had turned to pace back that way, the bullet came in from the French ship Redoutable, went through his shoulder, punctured a lung, nicked his artery, and paralysed his spine, which led to him obviously immediately falling to the deck. And from the moment he was hit, he knew he was going to die. But he didn't die up here, he died down below because it was a wound that meant he wasn't going to die immediately.
Oh, so this is the actual spot?
Yeah, he was standing right there when he was hit.
Yeah. "21st October 1805. Wow, that is shocking. So we can go anywhere in here or...
Yeah, you can go in there into the captain's cabin. That's where Captain Hardy stayed. Either side, you've got smaller cabins for different members of the crew. You've got the secretary in there, John Scott, and that was the sailing master's smaller cabin over there. But rightly back there behind the wheel is where the captain would have stayed. So if he wanted to, he could have come on deck at any moment. If there was a situation, the officer of the watch said, "We need the captain." Someone would have run in there and said, "Captain, we need you," and he could have been out within mere moments.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries.
Oh, these are all buckets lining up. Are they for water?
Those chicken buckets were used for sand, but they didn't have buckets for water, yes.
Well, for sand, for building.
No, they use sand to cover the decks before a battle, because if someone, say, is hit in the middle of a battle and their blood goes everywhere, it's better for the blood to go on sand than on the deck, because the blood then will absorb into the sand. It won't be slippery, you're less likely to trip on it. And if, say, you dropped a cannonball on the deck, if there's sand in the way, it won't leave a dent in the wood.
All right. They are so pretty. So guys, you heard that.
We'll try and move on because we haven't got a lot of time to be there. Try and do as much as we can.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine, yeah.
Right, captain's bed. Ship's comfy those days with hammocks made out of the same stuff there, so made out of canvas. Then I can just come down the lower decks and show you that in a bit anyway, what they did with that. Now the officers themselves, the young officers in particular, would have a cot made out of canvas similar to this. It will bow in the middle, quite bad for your back, but when they were young it didn't really matter too much. And the senior officers like the captain would have a wooden box in there. Right, nice and flat on their back, horsehair mattress in there, very comfortable. Tried it during COVID, it really is comfy. Trust me, take my word for it, it really is comfortable. But it is pretty good. Now, because it's senior officer, usually one of the oldest people on board.
It's very clean as well. Very clean in here, guys. This is HMS Victory. Yeah, all signs, please don't touch. Captain Handy's dining cabin. Okay. Let's catch up this story here.
Put a few little drill holes in the side, put some shot in there as well, maybe a few keepsakes in there. They're his. Put in there, nail the lid on top, Union flag over the top, say a few words, walk him over the side. That's what they used to do. So instead of putting the last stitch through the nose with the old hammocks and stuff, the captain got a nice box, but he still sunk to the bottom anyway. So the only person to come back from Battle of Trafalgar that had died was Nelson himself. That was the only person. All the rest either over the side, or if they died of their wounds in Gibraltar, there is a little cemetery in Gibraltar as well, with quite a few obviously graves in there as well from personnel that died, and Trafalgar in there as well. And there's a pub quite close to it, quite happily called Trafalgar. Spooky enough. There you go. Right, let's wait for it.
I'll follow this group. Oh, that is, somebody sleeps there.
I'm not going to talk too much about Battle of Trafalgar, because we'll be here all day, but what I'll do is I'll touch on a few things anyway. If you want to see me, because this is here, I think I might need to mention this. Right, it's a good thing really, I suppose. Right, Battle of Trafalgar was a big, massive victory, of course it was. A couple of reasons. The first reason was the tactics employed by Nelson himself, which was quite cavalier at the time, because usually in those days they'll try and get the ships side by side, the most amount of guns, bearing at the enemy as they can, fire at each other, bum, 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 bum. But usually in those days they'll do that, soften each other up a little bit and move away again and try again. It'd be like a war of attrition if you like. But Nelson's orders from the Admiralty at that time was to try and stop the amount of these ships and the combined fleet of French and Spanish, to stop them getting up to the Channel to pick up all the troops, the French troops that are already there to invade England. It's about 30,000 troops. They needed all these ships to do that. Now, of course, all the ships from the British Navy and all the ships from the French and the Spanish Navy were in various areas around the world. Of course they were. But the biggest, largest concentration of ships in the combined fleet, the French and Spanish, were in Cadiz at that time. They had 33 men of war, a few frigates, sloops, etc. in that area there. But it was the men of war that they were more concerned with, because these things were big ships, similar to Victory. We have first-rate, second-rate, third-rate, fourth-rate ships, all the way down to frigate-sized ships, which are ready to go. But they had 33 of them. British only had 28, blockading off at the time. So keeping them blockaded into port, stop them coming out and disappearing, stop them getting to the Channel to get these troops. All they wanted to do, Nelson's orders were destroy and take as many as he could possibly do. And that was his orders, to stop them from getting them troops across the UK and invading England. So he came up with his tactics. Tactics were, instead of going side by side, he wanted his ships to go through, basically behind each ship, try to get them behind the ship as they can, to stagger them through. So they come down about halfway through first, so they basically took out the first half of the French and Spanish ships were left to their own devices down there, while they tackled the other half to try and seek, destroy and whatever. Then they will turn around, they won't have the weather gauge, and the British ships will then start picking them off. That was the idea. But going around the back of the ships trying to rake them and go far, that was his plan. But also, it wasn't just his tactics, it was the gunnery as well at that time, because everybody was very, very well trained. Trained to fight, trained to win, all that sort of stuff. It was all about training to win in those days. Like I said about the amount of food they used to have, the sustenance they had, made them very, very strong people, very physical, but they had to, the amount of work they did with the guns, climbing the mast, all the sails and all that sort of stuff, everything was mandrolic and not hydraulic in those days. So there was nothing hydraulic, nothing electric, everything had to be done by hand, and it was very, very physical work. So they had to do this too. So when they were blockading the French and Spanish in their ports, they couldn't do an awful lot while they were in harbour. The British were always practicing. They were always firing the guns, always running everything out, trying to do this, all about timing and how many shots they could do per minute, etc., how they get, up on the mast, all the stuff. But it's all about physical work and trying to get yourself fighting fit to fight, if you like, fit to win. So that's what they did. Anyway, so Battle of Trafalgar. The ships in Cadiz, what they had done, Villeneuve had been heard from someone in Paris saying that Napoleon wanted to sack him. Basically, he's in action. He wasn't doing anything. He wanted them to escape, to go out and do bits and pieces, try and get out to evade the British, and then converge elsewhere to get all these troops came across them. But he wouldn't do that because he knew that the British were meaning business. They were going to have a rival going round. He didn't want to do that. So first of all, what he wanted to do, he took the British by surprise initially, because he did sail from Cadiz and they headed towards the Mediterranean. So heading down towards the Mediterranean originally, but when they got sort of around the corner, close to the Gibraltar, around that area there, he got intelligence to suggest there was a British fleet waiting for him off Gibraltar, so they about turned to head back to Cadiz again. That's what he tried to do, to get back under the cover of Cadiz. By which time, Nelson's ships were upon them, so halfway between Gibraltar and Cadiz is Trafalgar. So that's where they met up. So Nelson had his ships in two lines, or two vans of ships, if you like. They had HMS Victory leading the line of one line of ships, HMS Temeraire directly behind Victory. The other line of ship, you had HMS Royal Sovereign with Admiral Collingwood on board. He was second in command and he took command of the fleet after Nelson's death. So he was the one that actually got the information back to the UK on board HMS Pickle, okay, to say to the, to the country basically that great victory had happened, but also a great loss, the death of Nelson. So that was his job anyway. So two lines of ships, digressive again. Anyway, so they were coming from the starboard side to the port. Remember I said the first line of the French and Spanish ships had already gone past. Nelson wanted the French ship Bucentaire. Bucentaire had the French Admiral, Admiral Villeneuve on board. If you cut the head off the Viper, straight away, it could be a victory almost straight away. However, it didn't work that way, but it's still a great victory by any sense anyway. So, as they were going towards, HMS Royal Sovereign broke the line first and started routing the ships there on that side. Okay, before the Victory managed to get in, the Victory was taking quite a lot of fire. So the reason going in head on to ships that can fire their broadsides at you and you can't fire back is a little bit of a problem. So that's what I was saying about it being quite cavalier. If you're going in there, somebody's firing at you, you're going to take on quite a bit of damage before you can fire back. However, the French and Spanish, their firing was not quite as good as the British, so he knew he was going to take some hits, but he knew it probably wouldn't be quite so bad. Although the Victory itself, before they even broke through the line, there were 22 dead on the deck on Victory, before they even broke through the line. But as they were coming in towards, they managed to then start firing, hopefully with the carronades until they got blown away at the front. And then as soon as they broke through the line, the French ship Bucentaire ended up on the port side of Victory. French ship Redoutable on the starboard side of Victory. So the stern of the Bucentaire was on the port side. So as soon as the guns on the port battery were able to fire, you're looking at 2 guns on the upper gun deck, 2 on the middle gun deck, 2 on the lower gun deck, 6 guns at a time, would be like bang, 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 right into the rear, breaking it with gunfire, causing 140 casualties with one broadside, and that's a lot. Bearing in mind Victory, after all the dead, and that was after people dying of their injuries, about 57 dead. And this was the highest concentration of death in the British Navy at that time on board one ship, was on the Victory, as she broke through the line. So, Bucentaire on the port side, raked with gunfire, 140 casualties. Starboard side, French ship Redoutable, or Redoubtable, if you want to call it that. Redoutable, that sounds like it's French. Anyway, comes down, ended up side by side with the Victory. So they ended up mizzen-mast to mizzen-mast. By which time, Nelson and Captain Hardy were pacing the deck up here, hands behind their back, directing the battle. When Nelson got to around about this area here, right, turned around, ready to walk in that direction as well. By which time, sharpshooter from the mizzen top of the French ship Redoutable saw become the target of interest. Admiral, full Admiral's uniform, which he had on at the time with his medals and all that sort of stuff on there. Great target of interest. Took a pot shot. Lucky shot, must have been because the muskets in those days were very, very accurate. However, they do seem to think in those days they probably have as many as 11 people on the firing platform at that time, so it could have been as many as 11 people firing at him at the same time. But nobody really knows, to be fair. But whoever was up there firing at him, they didn't survive much longer, right, once they were up there anyway. But once they did fire the muskets, there'd be a big plume of smoke, so you wouldn't know if it had hit anything anyway. So you wouldn't have been able to see, right? But anyway, Nelson's in this area here, all of a sudden, musket ball struck him in his left shoulder. Went through his left shoulder, through his left lung, shattered his spine, he hit the deck. Captain turned around to see him lying on the deck, thought he just stumbled initially, because all he could see was a little fleck on his left shoulder. He says, they're done for me at last. My back is shot through. Then all the blood come out of his face, very, very white, and he knew he was there. He knew he was actually done for at that particular time. You had a sergeant of the Royal Marines and one of the able seamen, which on the deck at this time, manning one of the 12-pounders, managed to pick him up, ready to take him down below to the orlop deck. But before they took him down below, Nelson wanted his face to be covered over with a handkerchief so nobody would recognise him as he went down, for morale purposes, I suppose, at that time. Because he was a very big personality in those days anyway, with the British public. However, being the only admiral on board with an admiral's uniform on, sort of give it away a little bit, didn't it, to be fair, as he went down below. But anyway, they took him down to the orlop deck where he stayed for 3 hours before he died, but he knew that the battle was won before he expired anyway. So hopefully we'll get down there to the orlop deck anyway soon. So we'll try and do our best. Should we move on, because we haven't got a lot of time to be fair. Follow me here, please. The main mast will be in here, obviously they're taking it out, got this there. And if there was any punishments taking place on board the ship, using the cat o' nine tails, or power under the lash if you like, this is where they'll go. Bit of grating will be taken off just this area here. Where the canvas is on there, they'll have all this grating on there, so it'll be open to the elements down below. All right, so you can get loads of stores, ammunition, whatever on board. But if anybody did something wrong and they had any, under the lash, cat o' nine tails, whatever, try their wrists up, their ankles up, and this is where they'll take the punishment here. You'll have a firing squad of personnel from the Royal Marines there to keep order of personnel, so if anybody wants to try and rescue the person. But you'll have the officers pretty much down there in that area there, and you'll have the rest of the ship's company watching it, forced to watch it, because if they did something wrong, that could be them next. So that's why they had to do that. Trying to enforce a bit of discipline on them. Anyway, follow me this way. Ship's boats would be here as well. There would be grating there, but there's lots of canvas on there now to try and protect that extra area. Was shot away in the Battle of Trafalgar. But being the flagship of the fleet at that particular time, after the battle, they had to have a bell. Now HMS Africa turned up a little bit late for the battle. It wasn't their fault because they were right at the back at that particular time, and the weather gauge wasn't favourable for them. To try and get them into the battle, they come up and basically mopped up afterwards. So anything that was left ready to destroy, they did it, right? But because they were basically unscratched, Victory needed a bell, so they nicked the bell from HMS Africa, and that's where it stayed. And it's still the same bell from HMS Africa at the Battle of Trafalgar, so that is their bell. Right, a bit more about this area here. This is the forecastle of the ship. So the forecastle of the ship itself, right at the front of the ship, it's called forecastle because it's a forecastle. Ships 100 years before that used to have a raised platform, look like a castle, and the front of the ship is a firing point for people with their muskets or whatever. And the makeshift guns they had, similar to what the Mary Rose had in those days. So it's built something like a castle. Still call it a forecastle today. Even the ships on the big ships there are called forecastle as well at the front of the ship. So that's what they call it, forecastle. But this area here, as you can see now, we've got some 12-pounder guns here. Okay, these would have been on here as well. But you also got the 68-pound carronade, which are these bad boys here. Quite a stumpy weapon, but it can move around to the side. Now this here, to try and get a 68-pound ball over a large distance, this gun would have to come all the way back here, probably as far back as that other gun, to be fair, to have it loaded with lots and lots of gunpowder for a massive explosion in the breach to get that over a large distance. They couldn't do that because the gun would be too heavy and it wouldn't carry it on board the ship, but it was useful as it was. At close quarters it could smash through something quite easily, but that's only at close quarters. At Trafalgar that was no good at that particular time because they were kept on firing at the front of the ship, and these were destroyed before they managed to break through the line anyway. But usually if you're going into battle normally side by side in these ships, what you try and do is you'll try and butter them up a little bit, beat them up a little bit, soften them up, get them into a position where they're side by side so you can then board the ship. You board the ship, you get a prize, loads of money throughout the ship's company, happy days, everybody's happy with that. So if you could take a ship, also the Navy then had an extra frigate, whatever it was, frigate, first rate, second rate, third rate, fourth rate, whatever it was, they'd take that as a prize. That was then put into service after battle damage on there, and then put a crew on it, and then they'll fight it against the French. So that's what they used to do in those days, to take these ships. Now these here, because they went round to the side, you can fill this full of grape shot or canister shot. Now the grape shot themselves is sort of like a spherical ball sort of made out of canvas with lots of little balls in it. So about 10 or 12 of them anyway put into there. So that's your grape shot. You fire that at a group of people, some of it's going to hit. So it's like firing a blunderbuss, if you like, but a massive version of it. But the canister as well itself, canister's a great big tin of baked beans, if you like. Okay, so it's a tin then full of musket balls. So the explosion in the breach will rip open that tin. So out of that would be like a shotgun. So if you're facing it towards the enemy, so if you're going to go and try and board this ship, you can guarantee they'll be trying to board this ship at the same time. If you can aim it at them, fire it at them, there'd be a big red mist. Okay, but to go on board, be a bit slippery when you get over there, but often be dead anyway. So happy days. So most of your job's going to be sorted out. So that's the reason for it. Good bit of kit when used in that way. All right, but a very heavy bit of kit if you want to try and get that over a large distance, so it ain't going to happen. So a little bit more about this deck as well. So the forecastle itself was where most of the ship's company could get fresh air, should they have the opportunity of doing that during the working day. So usually be quite busy doing what they're doing. So if they had a bit of time to get fresh air, then this is where it would be. But also they'll be sharing this area here with pigs, maybe sheep, some cows maybe. They'll try and get animals they could get milk from more than anything else if they could, because of the sustenance required. If you can get milk for something, you can make butter, you can make cheese, and all this stuff all adds to the fattiness they need in the food to give them that sustenance. So that's what they used to do. And also the animals themselves used to be kept quite fat as well. But they will then, they'll have to slaughter them while they're still fat as well, to try and get anything out of it. But they'll quarter it up, put it in a big barrel called a liga, about that big, covered in salt, put it down below into the hold. And in true naval fashion, they won't get that meat out until it starts going green. So it's pretty much the same nowadays, isn't it? Yeah, look, that's pretty much how it is. But anyway, there have been sort of pictures of the Battle of Trafalgar of ships in battle with lots of livestock floating around on the side of it. Now the reason for that is they didn't have time to slaughter the animals, so they had to get them off. There's no room to keep livestock because they'll just get in the way, can end up trampling people. Don't need that. And of course, when in time of battle, you need your guns and you need everything ready to go. Right, so if you didn't have time to slaughter the animals, they just took them over the side. And that would be a massive waste, to be fair, but that's what they did. So like I said, there are actually pictures depicting this in various museums, throughout the UK as well. So you probably got one in Greenwich as well with livestock floating around as well in the water. So that's that as well. Now the foremast just here, as you can see, this one's actually made out of iron. This was taken from HMS Shah back in 1858. So usually it's made out of pine. Big, massive pieces of pine taken from the big sort of forests areas of Canada. So they have great big lumps of pine ready to go in the pieces they required. And that's all they needed, just get some of these stowed on board. So the masts themselves will be yay big, and then you'll have another one on top of that as well. So that'll be made out of pine because it's actually quite strong, but it flexes quite well. And when you've got your sails there with a lot of wind into it, you want a bit of flex as well to help move that ship along. So you don't want it to snap, but you want a bit of flex in it so you can get that wind in there to give you the actual power. But anyway, like I said, this is made out of iron, taken from HMS Shah back in 1858, okay, and put onto Victory. But as you can see, we've got the flag of St George. Hey. Right, flag of St George up there. The reason why the flag of St George is there is because it's the flag of the full admiral. Right, so we are the flagship to the First Sea Lord. First Sea Lord is a full admiral. We fly his flag. Okay, so if he's not at sea anywhere else, we fly his flag. We become the most senior ship in the Royal Navy. So even those massive monstrosity, horrible metal things over there, when they go past us, you might have the senior officer afloat on that ship, denoted by the starboard flag, which is being flown from its bridge wing there, which is a green, white and green sort of pennant. Denotes they've got the senior officer afloat on board HMS Queen Elizabeth at the moment. But when they leave harbour, they have to salute us because we've got that flag there, First Sea Lord's flag. They have to salute the First Sea Lord basically. So when I'm officer of the day, like I am today, they have to salute me. How good's that? Yeah. So happy days. So that's pretty much how it is. But because it's on this mast at the moment, because the main mast is usually the senior mast, that's not here, so the foremast has now become the senior mast. And because it's on the starboard outer halyard, so you've got starboard outer, starboard inner, and you've got port outer, port inner halyards, and the starboard outer is the senior one, so we've got his flag on that there. Now Nelson himself was a Vice Admiral, so if he was flying his flag on board here, he'd have the Vice Admiral's flag. The Vice Admiral's flag would be exactly the same, however, he would have a red ball in the top corner next to the halyard. Okay, big red ball on there to denote there's a Vice Admiral on board. Now a Rear Admiral will have a red ball at the top and a red ball at the bottom to know there's a Rear Admiral on board. Now if there was a Commodore on board, they'll have red ball at the top corner, but it'll be like a dovetail there, so like a pennant. So you know what flag officer you've got on board that ship, all the way from Commodore, Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral to Admiral. Okay, you know what you've got on board there. Now Nelson himself, like I said, was a Vice Admiral. He'd have his flag on there, and the flags there were pegged in. So the actual halyards themselves will have little areas in there where you can put some pegs in there, so spliced in there. So he'll have his flag up there. Should the Admiral of the Fleet come on board at that time, who outranked Nelson, they will take Nelson's flag off, put it down a bit further down, and put the Admiral's flag above it. Now that's where the expression being brought down a peg or two comes from. Somebody of superior rating or superiority, if you like, and that's one of those things. There's a few more of these coming your way in a second anyway. Right, netting down the side here. As you can see, this naval netting here, very, very cheap naval netting down here now. Back in the day, it would be quite expensive, sort of natural fibre cordage, ringlets, if you like. They needed to stow all the hammocks on board for action somewhere. So you used to have to roll them really, really tight. Now, they had a brass ring, about that big, called a purpose, right? And if it was fit for purpose, come on. So fit for purpose, it'll go through the holes in the net, they'll put that in through the holes in the net, and then they'll cover it in canvas over the side. So it'll be like a ballistic shield of its day. So the Royal Marines will stand there as a firing point. So musket ball is not going to penetrate through that. If they fire one of these things at it, yeah, there's not going to be much left of you. All right, but musket balls or anything like this makes a good, it's like a ballistic shield. It worked really, really well. So that's how it was. There's another one coming your way now as well. Now down there on the beak, so this is the forecastle. Okay, down there is the beak. So toilets in the Navy called the heads. Reason for that is they're at the head of the ship. Okay, the majority of the personnel would use them there. Problem the officers, they had theirs down aft. All right, down in their messes and all that stuff. Now down here on the beak, on the port side, there's a raised platform with 2 holes in it, and then down in the corner there's another one. So there's 3 either side. Okay. Now these holes are the toilets, go straight to the sea. So it'll be a bit crude now, so please, I'm not going to apologise about it, but I'm just going to do it because you'll find it quite funny. Anyway, they'll sit there doing their business. Once they're finished, underneath there'll be a rope being towed underneath the ship. So grab hold of this rope, they'll pull this rope up. Bearing in mind it's in the water underneath the ship. On the end of that rope was a rag. And they'll wipe with that rag, and then they'll put it back into the sea again, towed underneath the sea. Next person coming in, sits down doing his business, picks up that rope, and he uses that same rag. And that rag is called a tow rag, or a dirty tow rag. So if you're calling somebody a tow rag, that's what they are. Wow. All comes from that, doesn't it? Have a quick look by all means on the way down. We're going to go down to the upper gun deck. We are running out of time a little bit, so I'll try and do as best I can. I'm sorry about it.